Okay, Joe. The idea of this is not to find out how much you know about history. It's not a history test. It's not checking your historical skills at all. But what we're trying to ascertain is what you've learnt, how you can use it, and how it may affect you in future. First of all, we're going to have a look at just explaining some of the characteristics of your chosen performing art. Just talk us a bit through that.
So I've chosen to do drama, and in more particular knowledge, the naturalistic and realism form of drama and acting, because I feel it's still important and relevant in today's practices.
Okay. Can you explain now how history has affected some of the developments in that chosen art?
Okay, so with social issues becoming, such a problem for everyone worldwide, so both the wars will have affected many people socially. It was good to represent that in a way on the stage or through radio even, that people could understand and relate to, meaning that naturalistic and realistic forms of acting could get a really strong foothold in terms of acting, because people could relate to it more.
Okay. What do you understand about the word genre? What is a genre?
Type or style.
Right. And you've looked in a series of lectures, you've looked at different styles and different key personalities in the 19th and 20th century. Can you talk us through some of the people that you think are important?
Konstantin Stanislavski and Chekhov, two important practitioners and playwrights that really helped to put naturalism and realism into performing arts, pioneers of the form, really. The most, I would say, the most respected names within those two art forms.
Excellent. The idea of this acting technique prior to Chekhov and Stanislavski, there was no real method of training actors. These are the people that wrote the Bible, if you like, on how we perform today. Can you see any practical applications in your own work?
Yeah, within my own work, I looked to Stanislavski and his methods, and more recently what he's inspired to what we know as, the genre being now, such as like Hollywood films and soap operas, and how his form and technique helped to inspire that to something that we see today. It's hard to, as a performer, ignore that his work has helped to inspire what we recognise as performance. So I think naturally, when you go to make a performance or take part in a performance, you take into account the things that Stanislavski has done for performing arts.
Excellent. So, can you show practically how past practice has affected your current practice? In particular, we look at some of the performances that you've done this year, and in particular, you've done two performances this year which are really important for the HND group. First one was the Hotwood Haunting, which was based on the notion and concept of site-specific, and secondly, you've done Music Through the Ages. There's a big historical content in the second of the two, but would you like to just talk me through some of the things that you've done practically that have involved historical research?
Yeah, basically looked at his stylisation and his technique towards being a performer as a role, to inhabit the role and not just learn the lines and understand the lines, but to understand the message behind the lines. So when I went up on stage, I fully believed that I could be that person, or I was that person through music through the years, so that I could entertain and show people the character that I was trying to be and portray.
And there's pictures of you, or there's video evidence of you doing those performances. You did how many performances?
We did 6 performances overall.
Right, excellent. Interesting enough, can you tell me about the two different notions of performance spaces? You've got one done in a traditional sense in a theatre space, one of your performances, and the other performance we're talking about is an outdoor experience. Just talk a little bit about audience and performance space, please.
I feel within a theatre, in its own way, it's a bit more intimate because there's a lot of faces just watching you whilst you're on the stage. So I guess if you're not in the right frame of mind or the right zone, then that can be quite intimidating. But because I understand the techniques that I've referred to recently with Stanislavski and Chekhov, I don't let that get to me, because I feel that I am that person and that there's nothing to be afraid of. So in terms of concentrating on the audience, I don't even acknowledge that they're there. And with site-specific performances, in its own way as well, it can be quite intimate, because the audience that you're having to acknowledge are right there in front of you, within touching distance in some instances. So you have to acknowledge and be aware of your surroundings and how to interact with them appropriately within a performance, and how to still maintain the fact that you are in a performance.
Right. There's a couple of other questions, a few outstanding questions. Can you understand that there's links with this unit, the historical unit, with contemporary practice, and also there's going to be links with your research project? We'll talk a little bit about what your intentions are for your research subject, your ideas for your research project later. But you've done a unit contemporary theatre. Can you talk to me a little bit about what you're actually exploring at the moment?
Right now we're in the devising stage, so we're learning a lot about our characters and doing a lot of research on how to act like a 1980s. Right,
so historical content is appearing in quite a few different units as well.
Yeah, it's appearing in this one in particular.
Okay, just talk to me a little bit about your intentions for your research project and how you might use some of the historical things that you've got from the historical unit in your projected project.
Yeah, well, during my research project we have to direct our own pieces, so I'm going to be looking at these skills and knowledge that I've learned throughout the practitioners that I've researched. So that includes Antonin Artaud as well as Stanislavski and Chekhov, and I'm going to look to merge the three styles: surrealism, realism and naturalism.
Okay, just talk to me a little bit about surrealism. I'm quite interested in that.
Well, it was trying to break away from the naturalistic movements that were happening around that time, and because of the war that had just happened, some practitioners and playwrights wanted to look at the impact it had on their lives through a way that they could express through their bodies and show theatre through their bodies as opposed to just words. So they used a lot less dialogue and narrative structure as you would see in your modern contemporary pieces that we recognise now. So it's quite interesting and challenging to merge the three together, because they're polar opposites of each other.
Okay. I'm interested to know that you're going to do a written dissertation based on something that interests you. What's that written dissertation going to be on?
It's going to be on whether homosexuality is still taboo within performance.
And how far are you going to go back in history to get your information?
Going to go back to around the wartime, so the First World War, the 1920s, stuff along those lines, because I feel homosexuality was becoming more and more popular around that time, but it was almost a turning point for more people to feel like they could start becoming gay, but they would still be frowned upon. But a lot more people were becoming gay, like
and then you're going to actually look very carefully at what happened in the social impact out there in the world and how it impacted on the theatre and performance. So you're going to look at the laws and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, legislation.
Right, and how it's impacted on performance. Okay, the last thing I'm going to ask you really is a question on your future and employability. And really, I'm asking you a question, and it's an important question. If you were a facilitator, a workshop leader, or a group leader, with the skills that you've gained from this historical unit, do you feel that you've got enough skills to be able to work with another group of people that can be transferred from your knowledge to other people? Do you think you could handle a site-specific project yourself, for instance?
I feel, because of my experience in the past with site-specific, that I would be able to devise a piece of site-specific work that would be respected and recognised as a piece of site-specific, yeah.
Okay. Right, Joe, thanks very much. You've supplied me with all the information that I need. Thank you very much. And